Hey guys, Bridgie here. In this video we're going to recreate this dashboard from scratch using Figma. Now this is a screen that I got from a UI kit on UI8 called SmartNet, so feel free to check it out, but without further ado, let's jump right into the tutorial. Right, so first things first, we're going to rename the Figma file to web app, and we're going to create a frame which is going to be this desktop one, which is 1440 pixels of width. Now the reason why I usually select 1440 is because it's a good measurement for the initial frame, which isn't too big nor too small. So it can serve the vast majority of users for the most part as a reference. Now we're going to rename this to homepage. And we're going to change the color to something around these lines where we're going to have a dark UI overall. And what we're gonna do is we're going to structure the main base of this dashboard from the start, so that we can have a high level picture as to what the structure looks like. This is something that I do pretty much with any project really. So I'm just going to use these colors for the time being. We can always tweak them, so you don't need to necessarily get the color palette right the first time. You just need to basically have an overall understanding on the direction that you're going. And I'm also going to add a divider line just to add a little bit of an extra touch, and going to make this 1.5 pixels. And here we go. I'm going to duplicate this using Command C and Command V, and I'm going to bring this one right here. Alternatively, you can also use a drop shadow in order to create the divider line. As you can see, it's not perfect, so I'm just going to align it a little bit better. And we're going to add the logo, which in this case, I'm just going to pretend that the client sent us the logo, since we're going to essentially focus on the actual design rather than going into the logo design. Logo design is serious. I definitely want to make it happen in the future, but for the sake of this video, we're just going to focus on that. So over here, as you can see, we have this top menu, and what we can do is essentially create a rectangle here on the top for the search field. So the search field is going to be completely of the same color. Then we're going to use the stroke right here, and going to make this 1.5. And for this specific example, we're not going to use auto layout. Reason being is I just want to keep this short and sweet, and not in every project auto layout is required actually, since especially if it's a one-off screen, as in this one, you probably don't want to invest too much time into creating something that doesn't necessarily need a structure for the future. But if I were to start this from scratch for a client, what I would do is essentially have a style sheet as a base, and then I'm probably going to create components one after the other in order to create that library that the client and the team can also leverage in the future, apart from the designer, of course. But what I notice is many clients they don't really get the auto layout feature. So if it's a small one-off project that you need to send for a client to work directly on the Figma file, I wouldn't recommend going with the auto layout. If you want to go with it, absolutely go for it. It's definitely a great practice. But again, it's not a make or break thing like many designers make it to be. And this is coming from someone who worked over a decade in this industry with top companies and also many startups. So I can tell you there is pros and cons to that. Nonetheless, let's continue and focus on the main menu. So I'm going to create the rectangle and probably going to focus a little bit more on the design than speaking, because doing two things at the same time is actually pretty tricky. So one thing that I want to do here is to basically replicate this element, which is actually very simple and easy to do. So I'm actually going to go ahead and create the auto layout for this button so that you can see how that would play out. So I'm going to find the icon. I'm going to add it over here. Dashboard. Let's center all of this and I'm essentially going to replicate this using the gradient. So on the top we have this color. At the bottom we have this color. As you can see, there is this basically this guy who was preventing us to see the result. I'm going to round up these corners a little bit. And if I were to use the auto layout, super simple, use Shift plus A or simply right click and use add auto layout. As you can see, we have this this nice button within the auto layout. And now what I could do is duplicate this and basically have all the options that way. But just to make things more practical, since we have a lot to cover, and we're going to essentially add these manually. So I'm gonna have data security, and a big shout out to the designer who created this this screen and kit, which is the SmartNet Cyber Security UI kit, which you can find on UI8. So big shout out to them. And basically what we want to do actually is to just add the different icons. And again, I have plenty of videos where I'm sharing with you where to find great icons. So that really should be the least of problems. I'm just going to add these guys here. And always be sure to use SVG icons, since you're going to be able to basically scale and maintain the top quality as well as a great speed in the upload of your interfaces. Shadow IT. This one's going to be user behavior. All right. So at this point we need some more items. So what we're gonna do is we're going to duplicate this guy. I'm going to name it to manage. And we can group these individually, but usually I like to do this cleaning up work at the very end. Destinations, detection, location, and we're going to, one thing that I noticed is that we have these groups that have been formed. So I'm just going to ungroup this, and there's going to be one more. It's gonna be devices. All right, so similarly to before, just going to drag and drop these items from the original UI kit, and simply going to add them over here. protection. And we have also devices. All right, at this point we have the base. Now we're going to want to recreate this component right here, which is actually pretty simple. So we're going to add a rectangle right here, going to round it up, and then we're going to add a gradient. Now the gradient is going to start from this one. It's going to go all the way here. And at this point, what we need is some text. So I'm going to bring the text over here, right, GoPro. I'm going to go with, it's probably medium. So let's increase the font size right here. Let's add this, this icon. And we're going to add the button text. So I'm just going to copy it for the sake of this demonstration. And we're going to basically make it smaller, decrease the size. At this point, we're going to add the button below. All right. So far, so good. It's looking pretty good. And we're going to decrease the opacity just a little bit. And we're actually going to add a fill, which is going to be white. We're going to just make it around 5%. That should probably work. Let's increase the size. Going to select everything, like center it a little bit. I'm going to group it together and duplicate this text. Great. Now, and I'm going to center this one right here. Now, if you notice, we have this nice element in the background, which is essentially a circle. So the way that you create this is actually very simple. Create a circle, and then you're going to notice, it's weird. I can't see this point unless I do change the arc. So I'm just going to make this one like that. I'm just going to bring this one back. And at this point we have a few options. So the way that I'm gonna do this is I'm going to duplicate this rectangle. I'm going to select this circle and the duplicator. Oops. I'm actually going to go with Shift and Command to deep select. And I'm going to go over here, use as mask. And as you can see, we have this as a mask. Now we're going to reduce the opacity on this one right here. So we're essentially going to bring this here. And we have a very similar effect, as you can see from this outcome that we have. And we're good to go. Cool. So we have the side menu. Now we need all the rest. So let's continue, and I'm going to add the search here. This is a UI kit. Probably not the best idea to have two searches next to each other in an app, but hey, for the sake of demonstration, we're gonna close an eye. So what we're gonna do next is essentially to grab this element. We're going to add the elements on the far right. So gonna add a line, and this one's going to be 1.5, and just going to duplicate this one more time. Distribute horizontal spacing. And I'm just going to remove these ones. Cool. So we have the base for the next element, which is going to be this one right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply select the icons, bring them here. Select them again and re-bring them right here. All right. Next element that we need to duplicate is this one here. So what we're gonna do is we're going to basically create a duplicate of this, of the rectangle, and yeah, let's go and tackle this. Going to add the text. And these ones again are auto layout, just 2 icons, so pretty straightforward. Just going to bring this one a bit more here. Select both. And here we go. Cool. Now we're up for the sweet part, which is going to be adding the main text, or the main content. So let's increase the size. This one right here. Can make a medium, probably just a little bit smaller. And what we need is to create 4 of these elements. And I'm going to take a screenshot of or actually just going to grab the original guys, which are these ones right here. So we're going to essentially mimic the gradients, which as you can see are going to have a diagonal inclination. I'm going to bring this one right here. And these ones again. So you get the idea by now. What we're gonna do is we're actually going to go ahead and add the elements in the first one, and then we're going to simply duplicate them. So as you can see, I'm going to have this circle. It's going to be 10% opacity with this lock icon, just this one right here. I'm going to copy the text and also the 3 dots, which for the most part, so far so good, pretty simple, right? I mean, when you break down these elements, it's not really like too difficult. The tricky part is really figuring out what is going to make for a great user experience for the user. The UI part of it is not too difficult really, especially once you get some experience under your belt. And we're going to add this element right here, and which is actually pretty simple to recreate. If you want to recreate it from scratch, you're simply going to want to do the same trick. And I'm going to add the same color. I'm going to duplicate this ellipse change the sweep so that you can see better what's going on. As you can see, we can now, oops, now have a very similar effect. So we're going to use the corner radius and we can achieve the same. All right. So I don't want to bore you guys to death. So what I'm gonna do is I'm simply going to group this, duplicate it a few times using Command D, and going to use Option Command C and Option Command V in order to duplicate this same effect, and going to do the same also for these other guys. And as you can see, we have the space going. All right, let's make this all white. Let's reduce the opacity just a little bit. And seems like we have the top elements. Going to change the number. All right, so we have this top section as well, and now we are going to continue with the second part, which is going to be everything that is below, starting from the actually we're going to go ahead and before we start doing this, so we're going to create some blocks. Going to be these ones here. Just so that we can have a rough idea of how to organize this. Now we're going to add some header sections. So files in time. This one here is going to be, actually I'm just going to copy it. Okay. All right, cool. So we have the base. I'm noticing that these guys are a little bit too wide, or not wide enough. So I'm just going to adjust this real quick. And now what we're gonna do is we're going to replicate a section like this. If I can select it. So pretty easy. Simply need to add the icon on the top, and then we need to create a base template for this element, which is going to be pretty straightforward. I'm going to add the rectangle right here. I'm going to go back. I'm going to copy and paste the style, which is going to be like this. Then I'm going to add this this icon, which again is just an icon with a circle with an ellipse applied to it, so nothing too fancy. Let's go ahead and copy the text, email notifications. So we always want to have the text of the elements inside to be smaller than the heading in order to create that visual hierarchy, which is always very important whenever we're tackling any UI UX project. And talking about visual hierarchy, you can notice here how even the text is smaller than this heading right here, and the color is also less bright, and the reason being is that the core focus is going to be on the heading, not the description. So always think about these things in the top of your mind whenever you're tackling a UI UX design project, because visual hierarchy is the name of the game. It's all about visual hierarchy and recreating that visual hierarchy. I'm not a big fan of this underline. Feels like on the old websites. So we're going to change things up. Going to create a small button around this read more section, call to action. Probably going to make it just a little bit smaller. Put it like here. Round it up completely, and here we go. Let's bring this down, and we are in business. All right, I'm going to duplicate this just another time. And we are good to go. Cool. Now we're going to add the section, this part right here. Oops. So we're going to add this text. Let's just make it smaller for the sake of this example. And I'm also going to add a arrow icon. Oops. And here we go. Let's duplicate this a few times. And we have our FAQ section. Probably maybe let's remove it here. Maybe we can have another call to action below. Maybe something that states view more or view all plus. And here we go. Cool. We are almost there. And also I noticed that the original one, we have this add policy section, which is going to be quite important. So yeah, that's that. So now we're going to focus on creating the actual graphs. So what we are going to do is essentially create a few different lines which are going to be located right here, and I think we need 6 of these, so this should be enough. Again, using Command D in order to create the duplicate. And what we're going to do is we're going to increase the size, make these lines this color. We're going to select the dash, and we're going to add some values, some labels on the left side. This one's going to be 0. This one's going to be 1K. Let's duplicate this a few times. 2K, 3, 4, 5. Cool. Now let's duplicate this also a few different times. So it's going to be the months. May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and December. All right. Now we're going to select all the text. We're going to distribute horizontal spacing, and just like magic, this is going to distribute horizontally. Let's add with the pen tool a graph. It's going to be, then we can always, refine this. Doesn't need to be perfect actually. Let's bring this guy here. Let's bring this guy a little bit over here. I'm going to make it of this color, 1.5, and going to duplicate. Let's change this up vertically. Let's bring this one right here. I'm going to make this purple, and here we go. Cool. So we have the graphs as well. Just be sure that they are above all of these divider lines. We also have this element in the original, which is going to enable you to see where the element or the analysis is at. I'm going to add a small indicator. Let's make this white. Let's also add a stroke here, and 1.5. Yeah, this is just about right. Cool. So we have the graph, and now very similar way we're going to create the very last graph, which is going to be located right here. So I'm going to steal one of these graphs, bring them here, and at the very end, guys, of course you will want to just revise all of this and basically clean things up as you see fit. Let's duplicate this a few times. And now, by this time, you already know how to do the graph, so just going to grab the original, bring it over here, squeeze it in a little bit, and we're also going to add the text above. Oops. Which is going to give the user a clue as to when this has been recorded. All right, cool. So we officially have it. I hope this video was helpful. And if you want to learn more about Figma, UI, UX design, and web design, I'm a designer with over 10 years of experience sharing my knowledge for free in this channel. I also have a email list, a newsletter that you can subscribe to. And this is going to enable you to basically receive informations which I normally don't share too much on social. And since there are limits to what I can share here, So if you're interested, feel free to check it out, link in the description. But apart from that, everything you see on the channel is free, so feel free to check out the other videos, and I'll see you in the very next one.